You see, lack of opportunities after studying so hard, after education, is one of the reasons why the youth sort of feel hopeless. Yeah. And the idea that many people, graduate every year, a lot of people graduate, especially here in Africa, but going to the job market, you sort of fail to get or secure an opportunity that you've worked for years. You've studied for that particular role for years and you cannot secure it. It's one of the reasons why. Yeah. You see, nowadays you find that degrees don't really guarantee opportunities, right? I mean, you work so hard to get that degree, right? But you come out here and find that everyone has that degree. Then what is it that actually makes you outstanding? Nothing. You find that nowadays internships, the culture of internship is very exploitative. Someone tells you, come work for us for free, and then what you're going to get in return is the the skills. For me that looks like getting used. And I think it's one of the things that we need to talk about. Yeah. And it is quite hard, and it's something that causes the youth to always to sort of feel hopeless, because now consider this: you've spent a lot of money studying, yeah, going through the education system for years and years, and then in the end you're told that there are no opportunities. You try to apply for those opportunities, you don't get it. You see, sometimes they they told us that education, is the key, but nobody told us that the padlock has changed. Yeah, nobody said that. And I think it's uh, we need to sort of question, the education system, and especially the universities, because you find that the things that they are teaching are quite outdated. You go through all that and then to just end up nowhere. Sometimes I think even someone said that um, not going to university sometimes can be a a very wise decision that someone can make. Yeah, because if that degree is not going to help you anywhere, then what's the point? Yeah. And then another thing is corruption. Yeah, and nepotism. I think this was another thing that keeps us hopeless. You could have the qualifications but not secure the job. Because sort of you find that you need the connections. Yeah, you need the connections for them to see you as qualified. Yeah, especially if you're trying government jobs, unless of course your government is way better. But the governments that we know here in Africa, you find that you need to have that connection. Yeah? A politician somewhere who is already in office tells his son to go take to go study, public relations in campus, because they are sure that they are going to give him a job. Now, what about that kid who came from nothing, who has no connections? Yeah, what happens to them? You find that they're missing out. They're the ones who end up to be hopeless. Yeah. Talk of corruption. Everywhere you go, nipe kitu kidogo. Everyone asks for bribe to get that job, right? I think this is one of the challenges that people need to sort of think of. Yeah, and the government need to sort of fix it, and the society in general. I think we sort of have to fight, or else we are not going anywhere. The youth will always be in the same situation. You see, in Kenya, your last name sometimes matters more than your CV. Yeah, yeah, your last name really matters more than your CV, because you find that that name could get you to places or could get you nowhere, right? Depending on your status. And then another thing is the pressure to make it early. I think this is a thing, especially with the age of social media. I find that social media creates unrealistic standards of success nowadays. Everybody seems rich, traveling, you know, driving. So, and you find that you are still there as a youth, start trying to sort of hustle for fare. And you find that sometimes people feel like failures. You are 25 and they are not sort of living soft life. And when they go to social media, when they go to Instagram, they find that everyone is living softly. So that, I think, brings that hopelessness and that depression. Yeah. So you find that in Instagram, that's where sort of 22-year-olds are millionaires. And you find that you as a person, you as the youth, you're boiling eggs just for supper, not even a business. Yeah. That sometimes can make someone feel hopeless. Then there's high cost of living and low income, especially if you're living in the cities. You find that food, transport, rent, electricity, they always keep rising. Yeah. You find that even the employed youth are literally surviving. You see, in Kenya, the average income, you know, from a job is about 30,000 Kenyan shillings. Yeah. And the average rent within Nairobi is, I think, let's say 7,000 there. Yeah. And if you're making 30,000 and you're paying 10,000 to rent, you've not accounted for transport, you've not accounted for uh, electricity and other bills. So you find that you're saving very little, or you're saving almost nothing, yeah, towards the end of the month. So how do you dream with when everything around you is sort of trying to kill your dream? I understand. I think this sometimes makes people hopeless. And then another thing is mental health is something that's always ignored. Things you see, depression, anxiety, and burnouts are common, but sort of rarely talked about. You see, culture teaches you to be sort of strong, yeah, or pray it away. Especially if you are a man, you're told that, how can you be a man without money? You know? If you have a family, you find that probably your wife can see you as a failure. Huh? And I think that brings that hopelessness and depression sometimes among the youth. Yeah? Talk of poor leadership and broken promises. You find that in the campaign trail, politicians sort of come, speak, and market themselves. They speak big, but when they get to the office, they do nothing. Someone promising to sort of improve lives and sort of create opportunities for people, but when they get into office, you find that they absolutely shut down and they do nothing. Yeah. So you find that in most cases the youth are used for votes but forgotten after election. Yeah. It is just how it is. Empty manifestos, no follow through, political recycling, same faces, same lies, over and over. You come to Africa, you find that a president has been serving in some countries for 40 years. You know, what is it that that person can help us, if they've not done it within the first 5 years? What is it that they can do after 40 years? I think it's one of the things that we sort of need to think about. To find that after every election time, that's when they remember about the population that initially voted them in. But when they're serving, they sort of remember their mouths and their bank accounts. Yeah. No real role model is also another reason why the youth sometimes feels hopeless. Many public figures sort of glorify shortcuts, scams, cloud chasing, flashy lifestyles with no substance. You go to Instagram, you find that people are trending. The ones that are trending, the ones that seem to have the flashy lifestyles, are probably the ones that are only chasing clouds without tangible results that they've sort of offered to sort of justify that lifestyle. And you find that people sort of imitate them or sort of make them their role models, and you find that they are sort of misguided. That could be one of the reasons. Yeah, sometimes dreams feel too far. A good life sometimes feels like a luxury, not a right. In fact, I think some people can say that most people in some economies, in most economies, are sort of surviving instead of living. It's just how it is. And just someone could ask if there is a future, for us. You see, us, we don't want to leave our country. We don't, we just want to live here and sort of make it here. I think that's a mentality that most youth have. But you find that the opportunities and the way the economy is structured and the way the system is structured is what keeps people down and sort of hopeless, And I think it's just one of the things that people and the government in general sort of need to think about. Yeah. You see, as the youth, we don't really need handouts. We need a system that doesn't punish us for sort of trying. You find that you work so hard and then everything is consumed by expenditure. How do you expect me to prosper? Yeah. We just want a system that is fair and that everyone can afford, the basic, at least the basic things. What do you think? Do you think the youth nowadays are hopeless? And what is it that you think can be done to sort of improve that situation? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. And of course, if you like the video, why not give it a like? And of course, subscribe to the channel and see you in the next one. Bye.